All right, welcome to July 3rd. We do have a child abduction case in Garland on the Amber Alerts on your phone. I don't know if you've got them right now. You'll be seeing this probably sometime, maybe today or tomorrow. So did you get the information on the child abduction?
Yeah, she's 17.
Okay.
She's probably right off with a 22-year-old or maybe 30-year-old.
So okay, now on the child abduction, what county did it come out of?
Garland, Texas.
Garland?
Garland, Texas.
Okay, Garland.
I don't know what county.
And she's, next year it wouldn't be an Amber Alert. It still could be a missing person.
Oh,
But they're saying that she was abducted at the age of 17. So anyway,
What's up?
I know, I see it. It's July 3rd, or it's, as David Lynch says, July 3, 2022. All right, welcome to July 3 again, 2022. Now, I do occasionally throw up these little short films, and I mean narratives, but mostly they're vlogs recently over the last, I guess, 2 years. And we're mostly been doing the Please Subscribe show, which is kind of the title of the vlog, so, or the show, I guess you could call it that as well. But regardless, I did throw up Glorious Glowhands episode. Well, no, I'm sorry. I have not yet thrown up Glorious Glowhands episode 1, but I'm working on it. So I do have the dailies on everything that I'm dealing with. Now, I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but I don't know. It's interesting when you write the script, because I did write the script. Now, I've watched some Quentin Tarantino thing about scripts, and format's not the be-all, end-all. When I first studied script writing or screenwriting or screenplay writing, it was all about the format. Sid Field showed the format. It was all trying to get everything formatted so that it read like a screenplay. It's not that way anymore. It changed ever since Harmony Korine and Quentin Tarantino, things like that. Screenplays don't necessarily have to look exactly like a screenplay. They can just be the story. Now, eventually, somewhere in the mix, you might want to write it in screenplay form so that you can kind of explain it more to the crew. And the actors probably just need the highlighted dialogue. Like, for example, Johnny Depp doesn't even read the descriptions. He only reads the dialogue. He doesn't read anything else but the dialogue. He doesn't want to. It's an actor's choice. It's an artful choice that he chose to follow. But the format is important eventually because it is a guide. So it eventually will end up in format form, probably, I'm assuming. Now, this has changed over the past few years. So you can just write out your ideas, write it all out, and say this is the screenplay, and then let them deal with it. That's a possibility. You don't have to attack another writer and say, well, this is not in format. When I first started, we used a ruler, and we would actually measure on the typewriter, because I did start with a Smith Corona typewriter. It was a word processing typewriter, but it was still a typewriter. And we would still have to measure where descriptions went and where dialogue started, where character names started, and all of that stuff. We'd have to measure it with a ruler, or some typewriters you could actually, put a mark on the typewriter. Now it's not that way because I've listened to some Quentin stuff, but it may flip back and forth. This is a cool bridge right here. It could possibly flip back and forth, just like headshots for actors can go to color or black and white. Back in the day when I started, it was all black and white. And this was like late 90s and 2000. It was like you'd be stupid to give them a color headshot. Now, some of the TV stuff, if you were only going for television, then yes, you would have a color headshot. But if you were doing film, of course it would be black and white. I think even theater too. Now it's different. Today's a Sunday. But anyway, so the trend changes. This guy's from New York behind me. The trend will change. And as an actor or an artist, it is sometimes, and my shirt's inside out, it's inside out day today. It is sometimes important to pay attention to the trend. Right? What's popular. Now, of course, the black and white headshot was a trend. It was a fad. It was a rebellious statement. You brought in a black and white headshot. What is this, the 1940s? Of course, I went to Hollywood with probably 1,000 black and white headshots, knowing that most likely they would want color. And anyway, they take a Polaroid of you during the whatever you want to call it, I guess, the audition. They would take a Polaroid of you anyway. So your headshot really didn't even matter. But yet the headshot industry would make a lot of money off of you. And they probably saved tons of money by overcharging you and then printing it out black and white. Especially if you're going to print out 1,000 of them. Which I did. I still have probably, I don't know, 500 of them. I don't know how many. But if you want one, leave a comment. I will sign it and I will mail it to you at no charge. Absolutely free. All you have to do is ask and I will mail you one of my headshots signed by me, Cole Spivey, actor, filmmaker, writer, adventurer, and vlogger. Sadly enough, about Hollywood is that if you're in a community theater today, somewhere in a local town, let's say Nebraska, or let's say, I don't know, Fort Worth, and you're involved with a community theater, that's almost the same outreach as, you know, Hollywood. The only difference is that Hollywood has its own community. So they may know that there are massive geniuses out there, or geniuses that could really change things, but they're probably only going to help them or aid those that are geniuses or whatever if they're in their community, which means if they're in California or Hollywood, or especially California, you know, because they don't have to, you know. Now, there was a guy named Terrence Malick that did Badlands, which is his best work, and then you know, he would work every 10 years and do a movie. And he's a genius, just like David Lynch. But David Lynch got sucked in from Philadelphia and then pulled into Hollywood because of AFI, American Film Institute. Terrence Malick, I don't know his exact career, but I know that he has a massive, like, education. So he's got like a doctorate and all this stuff. So he's done a lot of stuff and was pulled in from far distances. You know, that can happen. But usually back in the day, you didn't even get to make a vlog. Back in, like, let's say the 60s, the 50s or 60s. And, you know, if you got a film camera, you weren't going to do a whole lot with it. Unless you had a lot of money and a lot of film. You didn't have digital devices and social media where you could just, anybody could post anywhere. So now Hollywood has become kind of a theme park, but it still has its community. There are still writers there that make a difference, and there's probably 4 or 5 geniuses that they have got a hold of that can bring in enough money for all the fun to go around. As I say, the fun money to spin around. It doesn't mean you have to give up if you're on the outskirts, in some small town, writing a script with a typewriter or laptop or Apple Air. It doesn't mean that you have to just give up, but it does mean that they're most likely going to say, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And that's the sad thing about it. Now, if you go there, of course, it's different, because then you're a living body within a community. Person speeding right there. and you're living among a bunch of nuts that want to do exactly what you want to do. And you could have a chance to team up and film your own short film or start your own film company with a bunch of other nuts. And that can happen. But I can't, there's no real guarantee that Spielberg's going to call you up and give you $15 million or something. Whatever, or Keitel, because he was a big producer. Whoever it may be. But eventually, it would probably happen. Even if you stayed out on the outskirts. Eventually, in the long run, it doesn't really matter where you're from. Outskirts are right there on the Avenue of Stars. It doesn't really matter. If you write the script and you print it out, and it's probably the only copy, it could sit in a room and one day be discovered and turned into a masterpiece. That is true. Also, you could send the script out. Back in the day, in the 90s, we would send it to a place called Cinemobile, which was directly related to the Sitfield book of screenwriting. Now, you can certainly write the script and send it out, and it could get discovered. And you could be making the next Reservoir Dogs, Saving Private Ryan, or Jaws. Well, that's two Spielbergs and one Quentin. Let me try that again. Reservoir Dogs, Saving Private Ryan, and Annie Hall. Could you imagine that being a pitch? It's the next Reservoir Dogs, Saving Private Ryan, and Annie Hall, all put together. The whole room gets quiet. Oh, look, we don't have a permit. Run! Thing about Irving is they have not a single theater, as in live theater. They do on the outskirts of Coppell called the Firehouse Theater, which has been around, and the owner actually got attacked out in Dallas and was hospitalized. The weird thing about Irving is there's no actual live theater. Now, there is a big studio, which JFK was filmed in. There's a big Hollywood studio. It's pretty much like a Hollywood studio. It's a movie complex, or it's a Dallas communication complex. But the big thing about Irving is it's mostly just these special op Christians, big Indian culture, huge Indian culture. Christians are more of like a minority here. And big Indian culture. And I'm talking about India, I mean India, from India. And then Hollywood and some mix. Because you have Las Colinas, which right over here is where ICC is. Linda and I did a filming location of Upstream Color by Carruth, which is that right there. That's the ICC. But that's pretty much the battle here. It's a battle between special op Christians. These are, I guess, big evangelical Christians that want to communicate to all different cultures. India, you could even say Bollywood, because they do films out here. And Hollywood. Hollywood is scattered out here. It's not too popular, but it is here. When Upstream Color was filmed here, of course, I thought it was kind of a big deal, because when you go and you watch Upstream Color, which is a pretty major Hollywood movie, you can see all these little exteriors of Las Colinas and the train and things like that. And they also shot in Deep Ellum too, but it was actually filmed here under the noses of just, they probably set up some lights and people just thought, well, they're doing a photo shoot, and they're actually using, not the biggest movie stars in the world, but it was still an independent movie. But it still made a big deal in Hollywood and also in Sundance, and it was accepted as a pretty revolutionary movie. Now, Primer, of course, which was Caruso's first film, was more of genius, actually pure genius, and was a big moneymaker too. Primer was. It's about time travel and storage units. And we're still relatively in Irving, Texas right now. Now, when I was young, they had the Irving Cowboy Stadium, which they also called it God's Toilet Seat, because it had a hole in the top of it. I believe it was somewhere around, maybe like right there. I saw U2 play there. I think I want to say I even saw Morrissey play there. From the Smiths. He actually played at the Irving Stadium. Now they've tore that down. It's been torn down for a long time. They moved everything to Arlington, I guess, to be closer to the Rangers, because they have the Rangers Stadium and the Cowboy Stadium, which is AT&T Stadium, right next to each other. The Ranger Stadium is actually the Globe Life, and then there's another one that they had that was Choctaw, which was outdoor. They tried to make it kind of like a Boston Stadium kind of thing, kind of like, like a northeastern baseball stadium. It's just way too hot. Yeah, we're dealing with like 10:30. But that's fine.
is great here, as you know. I mean, everybody loves that, but depending upon where you are and the elevation, you can catch fireworks up in the air from several different locations. But I think I'm just not going to go out into the crowds this year.
Well, the market is providing us enough fireworks, isn't it?
It sure is. Well, yeah, the other thing is, too, is that I've got puppy dogs, so they don't really like that. But this week has been crazy with the market, Randy. What's going on?
I mean, we are up and down, and it is getting people worried. I know that this is one of the reasons that people come in to see you, and they say, I can't stand it. I don't want to lose any more money. I've spent 30, 40 years putting this together, and now in 6 months, 7 months, I've lost, 20, 30%. This is a big concern right now, isn't it?
It's a huge concern because, I mean, if you take a look at it, you probably haven't made any money and you're back even to where you were like in 2017. That's not really a great feeling, and I don't think it's over.
and everything that we hear, it is not over. I mean, the Fed is still going to raise interest rates. The market's not going to like that. They talk about recession. We could be in for quite a tough year, couldn't we?
Oh, well, absolutely. But, I mean, the biggest thing is if you have a plan in place and you have guarantees and you're looking to have solid income, you shouldn't be looking at the market every single day. This should not be impacting you. And that's the biggest thing about what we do here at DeWitt and Dunn, is making sure people have a plan in place, because you still have to pay your bills. You still have to have fun. And you want to make sure that your corpus and your principal on a majority of your assets is guaranteed and it's not losing any value. And Stephen, we've seen a lot of people come in this past week that are just upside down, and this is not what they wanted to have during retirement.
Absolutely it's not. You know, they were just told to hang on, How are you going to hang on with that same strategy? I asked a lady yesterday, how is that working for you?
Well, it's not. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're seeing right now, Randy, is just all the people coming in. And the challenge is that we take a look at the fixed income strategies that we work